This episode of the Batify podcast is brought to you in partnership with ministryleague.com. We would love for more people to discover this show, so please rate and review us on iTunes or your podcast provider. Feel free to share on your social media, and please do subscribe. Enjoy. Welcome into the Batify podcast, hosted by Ben, Travis, and Whitney. And we are coming into our second episode. And we just want to be able to give people the opportunity to share and to share with the world, and maybe help other people who are going through difficult times in their life to look to the Lord and look to the church to find encouragement and hope. It's an awful dark world to live in without hope, and we just would love to use this avenue to do that, to be a light in that dark night.
So good to be with you.
Good to be here.
Always fun to hear you guys and be able to hang out with you for a little bit. So, Travis, this whole podcast sort of is a brainchild of yours and Whitney's. I know we started kind of talking about some of this, and one of the reasons, like you've already said, you wanted to give people a chance to talk about how things in their life, difficult times in their life, how God kind of used them, how God used other people to encourage them. And so that's kind of been the point of this. But you guys had this thought because obviously, all the people who know us, know you guys specifically, know that the last couple of years for both of you have been a little bit difficult. And so we just kind of wanted to, I think the idea today was just to kind of let you guys talk about this, because I don't think many people are unaware of some of the things that you guys have been through. But I think the beauty of this is they kind of get to see on the inside, see a little bit of what was going on behind the scenes, what God was doing behind the scenes, what you guys saw behind the scenes. And so almost an opportunity to let you guys tell us a little bit about that. So if you don't care, idea that we had was just tell us about a season in your life. And obviously I think we know what that was, a season in your life where your faith journey with Christ was kind of challenging. Tell us a little bit about what you were going through, maybe the circumstances and the things that were going on with you.
Well, we became foster parents, and once again, Whitney will have to fact check me. That's what she's good at. She remembers numbers, but we're coming up on 2 years of being specific foster parents for the two children that we have in our custody right now. And of course, we were licensed, took the classes, all that good stuff, leading into 2017, the late part of 2016, early part of 2017. And so we've had these two for 2 years in our homes, and they've been here. And obviously that's been an adventure, a journey, not having kids of our own, and starting with two that were not. And then recently, October 16th, 2018, I was diagnosed with APL leukemia, which I still can't pronounce what all that means. So here's my lovely wife.
It is acute promyelocytic leukemia is what APL
it's a
stands
mouthful.
for.
Yeah. And from the doctor, what he said was, this is the best kind of leukemia that you can have, which is an interesting statement in its own. Although we've kind of put the pieces together, even in the last 24 hours, to figure out that, as far as a survival rate and a cure rate, it is very, very curable. But what we didn't realize at the time is that the first 4 weeks and how far along I was, I was in pretty dire situation.
Yeah, and you just kind of
obviously
brought that up to me today too. That it was a whole lot worse at the very outset than we really realized.
Yeah, and even in that, not to get ahead, but even in that, I think to some degree, it's been a blessing that so little that, it wasn't revealed to us. It was perfect timing of what all the information has been revealed slowly. Well, I mean, we didn't go digging around either, because we didn't know if we wanted the answers that we would get.
It's always scary to Google stuff like that.
Yeah. You don't know, you don't want to be Google warriors or anything, but 36 days in the hospital, one hospital floor, other than to go get scans and things of that nature, get out. I've done 60 some odd treatments. I'm not even sure that it's necessarily chemo per se, but it's of arsenic trioxide, 5 days a week, 2 phases of that. Recently was pronounced to be in remission and will do oral chemo for up to 2 years.
And that's a huge congratulations, by the way, from going from October to now and being in remission. I mean, your white blood cells were like skyrocketed when this thing first started, and now everything's kind of back to normal.
Yeah, they're intentionally will keep my numbers low. I won't ever be where I was in the hospital. I went from 60,000 white count down to what was the term they used? Neutropenic, almost like an infant. And then they brought me slowly back up, but they will keep the numbers down for the next 2 years. But, obviously I'm able to go outside. I'm not in danger of, if I catch a cold, we want to avoid that. But if I caught something, we could still treat it. I just wouldn't be able to fight it off as easily. But way better than when I was in the hospital for sure.
So when that happened, I mean, when this all came up, what was your reaction to this challenge? I mean, like, how did you really take that when you first heard it? I mean, like obviously we know you started treatments and you started doing that, but there's a psychological part to this too. So what were you going through in that time?
Well, I think, I knew something was wrong. I knew, I went to the doctor, had a rough weekend. We were actually out of town and had a few things going on that really made me realize, something is not right. And so when I went, I was kind of prepared. Prepared is such a crazy word because you're never prepared, but it was kind of like I just wanted to know there was a plan, and so when he said you have leukemia, it wasn't necessarily a fall apart moment, emotional moment. It was kind of what's next? Give me some hope. What's the next?
Yeah.
What's the plan? Is there a plan? I was more of how much time have I got, or, and I guess that's kind of weird. I text my mom, hey, are you home from work? You're not out carrying the route. She's was a postal worker. She retired. But, it's kind of like one of those things. I didn't want to deliver that news and her be out driving a car somewhere. But,
yeah,
I really didn't get emotional until he said that they're going to have to do a bone marrow biopsy. I knew it being a blood thing. I knew there was a blood problem, a blood issue, and I knew that meant going deep at some point. So, it's kind of one of those things where you just kind of fall back on, and this sounds cliche, but you just fall back on what you've been taught versus that you've relied on all of your life.
Well, it sounds kind of like a coach mentality too. It's like, what next? Okay, things have gone wrong. Now what do we do? How do we deal with the next phase?
It was, if he would have said, hey, you have leukemia and there's no plan of action, that's when I would have had an issue.
Absolutely. Well,
I was, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it was kind of, I don't know, I felt like I was kind of being prepared in some kind of way too, because like he said, we were out of town for the weekend leading up to when he was diagnosed, and we'd gone to Nashville, and um, we um, we had tickets to the Titans game that Sunday night in Nashville. But we'd spent the night in a hotel that weekend, and I woke up that morning in that hotel room, and I just like had this overwhelming feeling that something wasn't right. Something was off, something was wrong, and it was, there was no reason for me to really feel that way. Um, and I just couldn't lay my finger on it. I just didn't know what it could be, but I couldn't even get excited about the day and all of the stuff that we had planned, because I just was overwhelmed with the thought that, there's something not right. Something's wrong here. And I didn't really even understand how badly Travis was feeling at the time. That didn't really even occur to me that he had a health issue. But that day that we went to see his oncologist for the first time, I didn't even understand we were going to see an oncologist. I knew we were going to see a hematologist. I didn't understand that most hematologists are also oncologists. At the time, I know that now, but we got off the elevator at his office, and on the wall, right in front of where you step off the elevator, there's this huge sign on the wall, and it says Clearview Cancer Institute. And I just like freaked out. And then, he checks in at the patient desk, and the secretary at the desk gives him this new patient packet. And she told him to, go through this packet. And I'm looking through the packet while he's filling out the paperwork. And then they have us meet with a financial counselor. And I was just like sitting there thinking, like, we don't have time for this. I literally remember thinking, we don't have time for this. They need to save this for somebody who needs it. We've got to be at a JV football game in a few hours. And like, we've not even seen the doctor yet. And our appointment was like 45 minutes ago. And, they did blood work. And then finally, when we get back to see the doctor, they put us in a room. The doctor comes in and, kind of does like a physical examination and talks to Travis about his symptoms for a minute. And then he just, it's weird going back and thinking about that first day that we met this man. This doctor, Dr. Diaz is his name, because we've come to know him so well now. But his words were, he just looked at us and said, based on my examination and your lab results from yesterday and today, you have leukemia. I have to figure out what kind. And he's like, I'm going to go look at your cells blood cells under a microscope, and that'll give me some idea, but we have to do a bone marrow biopsy to know for sure what kind and how to treat it. And Travis was like completely just a pillar. He was strong. He didn't cry, really nothing like he said. His kind of thoughts were, well, what's next? And my thoughts were, everything's over. And I just immediately started crying. And he left and came back and told us, I think it's this kind, and it's a curable kind. But he went into, we've got to get moving. We've got to get this bone marrow biopsy done. And from there, we just, kept going. And at the time, my sister was actually texting me on the phone, not knowing what kind of situation we were in. She was actually in the hospital herself, about to deliver a baby. And
her baby.
Right.
Her baby. Yeah, she's about to have a baby. And she's asking me if we're gonna be able to make it, if we're gonna be able to come to the hospital, for the birth of her baby. And I just ghosted her. I just didn't answer her, because I didn't know what to say, and I knew that she didn't need to know what was going on here while she was going to be in labor. So, anyway,
And
it's a wild.
Meanwhile, Travis
ride.
sends me a text and says, I've got leukemia. And I'm sitting in my office like, what? So I remember getting that text. I'll probably always remember getting that text, like thinking, he's kidding. I think I actually said, you're kidding, right? And then I went, wait, you wouldn't kid about that. So that was, that was a rough day.
I remember watching it was Monday Night Football, and I was sitting on the couch, and I just was boohooing watching Aaron Rodgers torch somebody. I don't even remember who it was, but so Pillar, I mean, in the moment, but 4 hours, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what I had, but I knew something was wrong. And
something was wrong.
It's just kind of one of those things, like blood issues are not typically easy fixes, but.
Well, I remember, you had told us you had the doctor's appointment. So probably about the same time that Bailey was sending something to Whitney, I was sending something to you. And I know there was probably 1,000 people sending stuff to you. And it was just like, man, I know everybody was kind of floored to get that message, and probably nobody as much as you guys. And that's tough. So.
Just want to take a moment as we get ready to ask the final question to our guests to encourage you, if you are in the market or looking to create your own podcast, to look at Anchor. That's what we use. As you listen, you may be thinking, if these two guys can do it, then anybody can, and that's absolutely true with Anchor. The best part is it's free. There's plenty of creation tools that allow you to record, edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also contact and have your guests on from different locations or right there in the room with you. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. It can be on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
All right, Travis. So we want to kind of close things out a little bit lighthearted. It's kind of, I guess, obviously with this theme, it's a little bit heavy at times. So I got to ask you a couple of questions. Number one, what, if any, are there any TV shows that have been canceled that you would bring back in a heartbeat?
I would bring back, and there's a lot of these. And I'm not much of a sitcom person. I've got 2 or 3 shows that I just watch unendingly, that Whitney and I watch pretty much every night to kind of cool our jets. But I would bring back the A-Team. And I know you can't even bring the A-Team back because I'm pretty sure Hannibal's probably not around anymore. But think about this, the A-Team with the SWAT team in the spots.
Hey, that sounds good.
Yeah, there would just be 2 crazy people, me and you, in the show. But we would both be Murdoch somehow. But you got Michael Rosenblum's face.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Derek easily. B.A. Baracus.
Yeah, no doubt. So. Yeah, for those of you that don't know about the SWAT team, I think most people listening probably do, but we're talking about the ones who do skits and not like the actual SWAT team that breaks down doors.
You can find them on CYC or on YouTube. SWAT team, skits with the truth, CYC, all that good stuff. So.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it, Ben. Appreciate it, Whitney, of course. Whitney may not even know what the A-Team is, but little known fact, I wore an A-Team T-shirt to our engagement pictures. So
that's awesome.
Does that really count as our engagement pictures?
I don't know. I mean, it was right after we got engaged.
I mean, my mom just snapped those pictures in her backyard.
I think it counts.
That was a long time ago, and people didn't really do nice engagement pictures. So
okay. All right. Well,
that's awesome. Well, you guys rock, and I appreciate both of you, and you guys are such an encouragement to me, I know, to many, many others.
Thanks for being with us on this episode of the Batify Podcast. Be sure to download the Ministry League app and get all of our sister podcasts along with all sorts of great ministry material at facebook.com/ministry league. Until next time, look for us at the same Batify time, same Batify channel.